Welcome to Vibes of India. I'm Janvi, and today we have a very special guest on our show. We are going to interview poet and diplomat Abhay K. This interview will be all about his latest work, which is Stray Poems. He has written a series of poems, and we are going to discuss about his process, his challenges, themes of his work, and a lot more. Welcome, Abhay, to Vibes of India.
Thank
Many,
you,
many
Janvi.
congratulations on your book. And Abhay, to start with, if you could just brief us about your latest work.
Well, Stray Poems is about random poems which were published here and there in magazines and journals across the world in past 10 years. And most of my books are actually about a particular theme. For example, my last book is called The Magic of Madagascar, or Monsoon, or The Alphabets of Latin America, or The Eight-Eyed Lord of Kathmandu. So most of my poems are actually, collected mm, in form of books which are dedicated to particular places or particular geographies. Uh, these poems, stray poems, are from they actually have no such attachment. They are random poems
Very
which I
random.
wrote. Yeah, and I wrote them over a period of a decade,
Yeah.
and they were published in various magazines and journals.
Mm.
And so I thought, why not to put them together as a collection, because individually they were already published, but mm, they they need to be presented in a book format to the readers of poetry and those who love poetry. So these poems are actually, they take you on a roller coaster ride across the world,
Yeah.
and not only across the world, but also to the planets in the solar system.
Yeah.
In fact, I wrote anthems on all the planets in the solar system, and they were published as well, and they're part of this collection together. Also, I wrote a number of poems about the universe. I mean, way beyond our solar system, and so on. So it's kind of a imagination trip. I mean, it takes you on a ride
Okay.
across the world and across the solar system and across the Milky Way.
Very many. Yeah.
So it's kind of an evolution of imagination. I mean, evolution of thinking, or evolution of seeing, our universe in a in a poetic way.
True.
So these poems, there are poems about Nalanda, there are poems mm, about Thailand, and
Whatever
Goa,
diverse
and
topics. True.
yeah, diverse topics.
Abhay, what
And
was
there are
the?
poems about love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Please complete yourself. Yeah.
So there are, I mean, all kind of poems in this collection, and that's why it is named as stray poems, because they do not
True. Very.
kind of sit together. They are kind of, you know, they're they're stray.
Yes, true. True. And what was the easiest and the toughest part of putting this work together? Like, if you can think of something.
The easiest,
The
sorry,
easy. What was the easiest and the toughest part of putting this work together?
easiest part
Hmm. And
of putting the work together.
yeah, and also the toughest
Easy,
one.
the toughest one. Okay, so easiest part was to kind of, it's random, so you can like put
Hmm.
them in
Yeah.
any order.
Order.
Yes, and the tough one was to kind of, I mean, when you are publishing them as a book format, then you try to revisit them and try to edit them, because you are not happy with certain words, or you're not happy with the previous versions. So you wonder whether to do that or not, or you know mm, get to in which order to place them. You know, so initially, I mean, also you have to see that the publisher, what kind of poems the publisher
They
likes.
like it's true.
So you have to put them in that order, because if you have love poems in the
Hmm.
beginning, and if the publisher does not like love poems, then
Doesn't
you
work.
know
Yeah.
the book might get rejected.
True, true, true.
So it's all, I mean, it's all using all those kind of things. I think that was tough, because uh, I mean, right now the love poems are in the end of the book, but initially they were in the beginning. And so I was pitching this book to many publishers, and finally, I mean, the
You got the
poetry
nod.
wala has picked
True,
it.
true. And tell us about that. Does writing poems work as a catharsis for you? I mean, what does the process mean to you? Because many times people write poems to just unburden themselves because they want to just vent out something. What does poems means to you?
I think, I mean, I don't write poems to vent out myself. I'm not a very, I mean, I'm not a very contemporary
Yeah.
topic poet. I mean, I don't deal with contemporary issues as such. Uh, Rarely so, maybe once in a while, but not always. So it's a process of, for me, poetry is a spiritual exercise, uh,
Wow.
and it's kind of communion with the universe, actually.
Okay.
And I think that poetry has a form which is short, and it also uh, uh, it also suits me, because I'm also a diplomat. So the time I get, I cannot write a novel.
Hmm.
It's not possible, I mean, until I kind of put 6 months or a year to write a book. But poems allow themselves to be written, in a short form. It can be a long poem like Monsoon, which is a whole book, but it can be like 10-line poems, or
True.
14-line poems, or 20-line poems. And they allow me to express myself in a very concise manner, what you
Manner.
call pithy manner. So what I mean, one of the interesting parallels between poetry and diplomacy, which I want to share with you, is
Hmm.
this: that uh, it's called ABC, which is like A is for the ambiguity. And
Okay.
Emily Dickinson calls it "tell it, but tell it slant."
Hmm.
And so don't make it so obvious. That's one of the
Art of
strengths
you.
of
Yeah.
poetry.
Hmm.
So tell it, but tell it slant. And the second is brevity. So you can say more in less.
Yeah.
Uh, that is another very important part of, I mean, quality of poetry. And then you have this also this dealing with words. I mean, you both, as a poet and as a diplomat, you deal with words, and you are very choosy. So you choose
Choose.
very carefully which words to be used and which words not to be used. So there are, I mean, there's a whole more whole there's much more to it, but then these are
Hmm.
like some of the things I can share with you. So your question that, is it to vent my feelings? No, it is not. It's more a proactive engagement. For example, my last book was Monsoon, which is a whole whole
No.
poem of 150 stanzas, and inspired by Meghdut, of course, Kalidas's Meghdut, and so it's engaging with the monsoon, from beginning to end, from where it begins in Madagascar to where it ends in the Himalayas, and taking the reader to a ride along the monsoon, the path the monsoon takes.
And if you, Abhay, if you could also give us a glimpse of your work in the sense, if you could recite something for all our viewers, that would be great.
Well, I would love to read
Hmm.
some poems from the Stray Poems,
Okay.
and here is a poem called Desire.
Hmm.
Traces of your perfume linger in my head. Desire creeps in surreptitiously like a serpent, poisoning my mind, enslaving my body. You have your way anyway.
Beautiful. Very beautiful.
And here is
Another.
another one. It's called Blossom as Ipe Amarelo.
Okay.
Ipe Amarelo is it's like a yellow amarella which grows in India and in Brazil.
Okay.
May you always blossom as Ipe Amarelo, muse, angel, sunshine. What should I call you? Loving is an act of faith in darkness. Do we own each other if we spend an hour drinking coffee?
Hmm.
Do we own each other if we spend a lifetime together?
True. Beautiful.
Can anyone ever own anyone? Falling in love, even for a moment, is a blessing. A moment with the beloved is more than anything else. Being in love is being in the moment, now, right now, the eternal now.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to possess you until eternity. May I borrow you from time for an evening,
Wow.
knowing this is it, this is all. So I
How,
think it goes on,
how
and
beautiful that if I can borrow you from time. So that's beautiful,
right,
isn't it? Is there
and here,
anything? Yeah.
yeah, here's another poem called "Come." Come as monsoon rains to the parched land of summer, or tenderly as spring with new leaves and bird song.
Wow.
Come roaring as a volcano, exuding plumes of gas and lava, or shaking with great force as an earthquake. Come gently as sea bridge, or stealthily as a lover at night. Come playing flute as Krishna, or as Kali with a garland of skulls. Come exploding as a supernova, or as a black hole devouring all. Come as elixir of life, or as death nectar.
Wow. I mean, Abhay, tell me about your fascination with science because you wove them so beautifully in words and in your poems.
Thank you. So, I mean, I'm fascinated by the universe. When I
Yeah.
was a child, I used to read these books on science, the science fiction books.
Yeah.
And there used to be a magazine called Science. I'm sure
Hmm.
it is still there around,
Yeah.
Vigyan, and I used to buy them as a child and read them.
Hmm.
And so like I mean, so I'm fascinated with the planets and our universe, and uh, actually I have written a whole collection, whole poem, a new poem. It's a book length poem, 100 stanzas, called Celestial, which takes you on a ride across the universe, on to all the constellations we have in the sky.
Wow.
uh, so from one constellation to another, so it takes you on a journey to all the constellations visible from Earth, actually. And so it's kind of the plot is of this poem is that there's someone on the Earth who is looking for his lover in the sky,
Yeah.
and kind of follows her from constellation to constellation, and tries to find her.
Great. And Abhay, I mean, as we're talking about poems, if you could also share about any of your favorite poets, something that you have grown up reading and that has influenced you a lot.
Yes, I mean, I've been reading Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, who is a
Hmm.
poet from Bihar,
Hmm.
since I was a child, and his
Yeah.
book Rashmi Rathi,
Hmm.
like which has always been my favorite. And
Hmm.
you know, uh, the third canto, or the
Hmm.
Tirtiya Sarg of Rashmi Rathi,
Yeah.
is something that I remember. In हो गया पूर्ण अज्ञातवास पांडव लौटे वन से साहस
Hmm.
सौभाग्य न सब दिन सोता है देखें आगे क्या होता है. So it begins with these lines, and uh, mm, पत्थर पानी को चूम चूम पांडव आए कुछ और निखर.
Hmm.
सौभाग्य न सब दिन सोता है देखें आगे क्या
देखिए
होता है.
आगे क्या
And
होता है.
yeah, it also takes this poem also introduces Krishna, going to the court of the Kauravas to negotiate. That दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम रखो अपनी धरती तमाम हम
Okay.
उसी में खुशी से खाएंगे परिजन पर असी न उठाएंगे. दुर्योधन वो भी दे न सका आशीष समाज की ले न सका उल्टे हरि को बांधने चला जो था साध्य साधने चला. हरि ने भीषण हुंकार किया अपना स्वरूप विस्तार किया. So this is a poem which I always remember.
Okay.
And then Kabir, is my favorite.
Yeah, Kabir.
I mean, Dohas of Kabir is
Hmm.
always, which I always remember.
True.
Mm.
And
Uh,
yeah, is there anyone else who would you
no,
like
please
to
go ahead.
come again?
Please go ahead. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
you're
okay.
saying something.
Yeah, Abhay, I also want to talk a bit about your format in the sense like some people write their poems in a certain format, in a certain meter, but do you constrain yourself in that format? Do you just allow yourself to, write without using rhyming words or without using meter or a format?
See, I mean, I have been experimenting with different things. So generally, I prefer to write in 2 lines or 3 lines, mostly 2 lines. Celestial, the new poem, I mean, which I've written is a rhyme. I mean, it's a
Hmm.
rhyming poem. So it's like it has a rhyme, two line couplets, rhyming
Yeah,
couplets,
yeah,
100 rhyming couplets.
yeah.
Monsoon is a 150 stanzas of 4 lines each. So it's like a rubai, like Rubaiyat of Umar Khayyam.
Yeah.
And it, or you in English you call it quatrain. It's in 4 line. It's a 4 line poem. Then I mean, so I mean, it's not fixed, but like poems, they organize themselves in certain structure. and you, I mean, once when you start writing it, you know where to have the line break, where to have the pause, and so on. So it's just intuition. It's nothing, I don't force them to kind of go into like three line structure or two line structure.
Structure.
They kind of organize themselves. Poems
Abhay,
organize them.
what do you have to say about the readership of poems? Do you think that the younger lot, maybe the youngsters, do they find poems appealing? Where do you see the market or of poems going? Because they are very personal experiences. They're very intimate experiences of people that they jot down. But where do you see the readership of it?
Well, I mean, everybody wants to, use poetry or uses poetry. I would say everybody uses poetry, uh, whether at the birth ceremony or to once, when one is courting a partner, or if some or at a funeral or at a speech, you see everybody using poetry, the jingles, the so many things. But nobody wants to buy poetry. They
Yes,
all want to
that's
use
the
it for
problem.
free.
True.
So I mean, and poets. I mean, poets are. So there is an essay by Charles Simic, American poet, called "Poetry and Money." And it's a
Okay.
very fascinating essay which you should read.
Uh-huh.
And
Poetry and
and
money.
so the crux of this essay is that the poet writes some poems and sends to for publishing, and somebody finds that these poems are really interesting, so offers the poet that, okay, I'll pay you $10 each for a poem, and can you write me 3 4 poems, or as many as you like.
Hmm.
And poet tries his best. But ultimately he returns all the money, because he can't write any of the poems the one who had paid wanted. So see, I mean, poetry is not really very incashable. I mean, publishers avoid it because they don't make money. Uh, I mean, buyers, I mean, readers, they don't want to pay for poetry. I mean, they mostly want to kind of read for free.
Yeah.
I mean, online, or and there's so much of poetry available online. So why to buy a book of a whole? I mean, a whole book of a poet? Just read one poem, and that's all. Why to pay for that? Though, like, these books cost like $5 or like 200 rupees or 400 rupees. $10, let us $5. And but I see that people can like have people can have a snack for 500 rupees, like samosa and chaat
Yeah.
and all, but they can't buy
They can't have
poetry.
a
They will not
poetry.
pay for poetry. They expect the poets to present them their books, I mean, gift the book, or
But
and
does
then
this
so
worry you, Abhay? Does this worry you that you are
no, I
launching?
mean, it does not worry me. I mean, because poetry is something which is which is going to survive. Because see, because of few reasons. One is that because of its form, because poetry is something you can remember. You can easily read it on your mobile phone. So as the attention spans of people are
Reducing.
declining, decreasing. Yeah, so one does not have the patience to read a whole novel or a whole book, but you can easily read a poem. So poems themselves, they lend themselves to be portable, to be read anywhere in a short span of time. So I
True.
think poetry has a great future. I mean, I'm not worried about the
Yeah.
poetry's. I think it
I'm.
will survive human beings, and
We all
I
look
think
forward to that.
survive our species.
True. And then, Abhay, any like concluding remarks on your book? I mean, which will be up soon.
Yes. So stray poems is. I mean, one does not have to read the whole book. it's one can just read a poem or maybe one stanza, from here and there, and still I think can find something worth remembering or worth taking
Taking.
carrying with oneself. So so I would say that pick up the book and
Yeah.
and read poetry. I think as someone has said that uh, what is not found in the news is found in poetry.
Great, great. We wish you all the best for this book, and we look forward to reading it definitely.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Janvi. A
so much, Abhay,
pleasure.
for your time. Yeah.
Thank you.